Did Pixar just confirm that a Monsters Inc. sequel is in the works and is being considered for production? With the massive success of Inside Out 2 currently and Toy Story 5 in the works, Pixar has been stating that the sequel era may be returning, like in the 2010s, with some of Pixar's most famous franchises getting a third installment, such as The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, and now Monsters Inc. Pete Docter has said in an interview that Pixar is currently trying to get the right balance between standalone original films alongside sequel releases, stating that the next two Pixar films will be originals, followed by Toy Story 5, and then likely creating a pattern of originals followed by franchised films. But they only want to expand films that are worth expanding, with Monsters Inc. being one of them. He said, "I always thought there was some rule that would be the formula for what films become franchises or what get sequels, and there isn't. It's much looser, but obviously it's based on all the above. We have to find something we think is worthy first and foremost. It should be something hopefully the audience responded to." And Pixar knows Monsters Inc. fits this exactly. That's why they already made Monsters University a prequel to the first film back in 2013. But the big problem with a sequel is the first film tied up the main premise so perfectly. The main premise being monsters who use doors to go to the human world to scare children. At the end of Monsters Inc., they got rid of this, with instead monsters going to humans and try to make them laugh rather than scare them. And watching a film about making kids laugh just isn't as exciting. That's why for the prequel they stuck with monsters being monsters and seeing the training to become a scarer. But there has been attempts to further the franchise. Disney Plus has a sequel spin-off show looking at the laugh floor at Monsters Incorporated after the events of the first film, called Monsters at Work, which I have watched and I actually really enjoy it, and it has 2 seasons out already. But it's definitely fit for a TV show where only fans who want to see more need to watch it. As a headline movie, none of the storylines so far are interesting enough for a film. Plus, Sully and Mike aren't really the main characters, Tyler Tuskman is, as it's a spin-off show. And this dilemma Pete Docter spoke about, saying, "We've been searching for ideas for a Monsters Inc. sequel for a long time, and we haven't seen enough to start working on anything there yet." But the key word there is yet, and that they are searching for ideas. The fact is, Pixar knows how successful Monsters Inc. is, and so if they are needing to make sequels to successful franchises, since their recent standalone films haven't done so well, then finding a sequel idea for Monsters Inc. is what they are now doing and is a priority, meaning it is likely we could be getting a sequel, and that I just can't wait for. But what would it be about, and what about Monsters at Work? Well, Monsters at Work isn't actually made by Pixar, it's made by Disney Television Animation, which could mean Pixar just doesn't count it as canon, but nothing in the show would prevent a sequel from happening afterwards. After all, it's a spin-off show, it's not necessary to watch. If they did do a sequel, I reckon it would just take place after the events of Monsters at Work, and maybe just a mention of Tyler Tuskman could happen, and for viewers who've seen it, would be a nice reference, and for those who haven't, he could just be a new character, and there would just be no issue with it. Kind of like the old MCU spin-off shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which didn't prevent viewing of the mainline films, but were mentioned if you knew about them. And there has been an idea about the sequel for a very long time, with a basic storyline that, if was put into production and fully created, would be absolutely perfect. And it of course has everything to do with Boo. Boo is the perfect direction to take a sequel, since she is the one plot point that wasn't fully tied up at the end of the film like Scaring was, and can't be looked into through a prequel. At the end of Monsters Inc., we see Mike fix Boo's door, and Sully go through and see Boo for the final time. The sequel would see Mike and Sully return to find Boo once again. Now, this sequel was in development back in 2005 and was titled Monsters Inc. 2 Lost in Scaradise. However, it fell through due to Disney buying Pixar in 2006 and disagreements between Pixar and Disney at the time. Lost in Scaradise would see Mike and Sully adjust to their new roles in Monsters Incorporated, with Sully being in management replacing Mr. Waternoose, and Mike being a top jokester, which is basically what Monsters at Work is currently. The The plot would follow the night before Mike and Celia's wedding, where Mike and Sully would get trapped in the human world and try to find their way back. Now, this film would have introduced brand new concepts to the franchise, with Mike and Sully learning about different cultures on Earth and meeting other banished monsters to the human world, similar to the abominable snowman from the first film, and seeing what would happen if they returned to Monstropolis and why these banished monsters were in exile and what was their reason for that. There would have also been subplots including a redemption arc for Randall, which would have been so interesting to see, and introducing Celia's ex, who likely would have been with Celia whilst Mike and Sully were lost, and probably would have caused Mike Wazowski to go insane. Whilst in the human world, we would have learned more about how the humans, like the adults, interpret the monsters, and with Sully staying so long in the human world, the urge to find Boo would have begun to grow and cause tension with Mike, who needed to return to Monstropolis for his wedding. And Boo would of course been at the center of it all. We would have seen an older, more mature Boo than the toddler we saw in the first film. Mike and Sully would have used Boo's door to go to the human world and find someone else sleeping in her bed, meaning Boo's family had left the house. Mike and Sully would have then found where Boo now lives and used Boo's belief to get them back to the monster world. However, with Boo not being in her room, using the door technology would have made it very difficult. With this, we would have seen Boo's family, such as getting introduced to her brother, and it would have ended with a very emotional moment with Sully permanently saying goodbye to Boo so that Boo can finally grow up. I mean, it just sounds so good. I would have absolutely loved to have seen this sequel, and maybe now we can, or at least a version of it. But anyway guys, that is the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure that you smash the like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Guys, let me know down below in the comments, what do you think about this? Do you reckon that we could be getting a Monsters Inc. 2 or 3, depending on how you want to say it? And do you reckon it could follow this Lost in Scaradise storyline, bringing back Boo? I think regardless if they do a sequel, it will definitely involve Boo somehow, and I can't wait for that. And also guys, are you excited that Pixar is potentially going back into doing sequels with The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, and now Monsters Inc? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments, and as always, we've been here in Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.
This love ain't kryptonite.